My name is Shane Bassett, the movie analyst, and I'm here with Mia Grunwald, a fellow Australian and a wonderful actor and producer as well. Hello, Mia.
Hi, Shane. Thanks for having me.
Look, no problem at all. Uh, Firstly, you're a Queenslander. You were born in Brisbane, is that correct?
Yes, I was born and bred.
Now, art and sport don't always mix, but are you a Brisbane Broncos fan?
Oh, look, I say I love the energy of going to a game or, going to the State of Origin. But
Yep,
I will admit I don't keep up to date with them. So,
fair
sorry
enough.
to the
No.
listeners out there that are big Broncos fans.
Oh, that's okay. I love my sport as much as I love my art and film and books and everything else, so I can mix both.
Oh, good. That's a skill.
Do you have a middle name?
I do, Rosemary.
Okay. So Mia Rosemary Grunwald. Am I saying your surname correctly?
Oh, you're actually saying it really well. Yeah. So my middle name is actually passed down through all the women
Yeah.
in my family. So every woman above me has the middle name Rosemary. My grandmother actually, her first name is Rosemary. It's
Oh,
kind of carried through, which is nice. And my surname is Hungarian German. And when my grandfather moved here, it had a umlaut above the U, so it was
yeah.
pronounced Grunwald. And then he got rid of the umlaut and it's Grunwald, which you pronounce perfectly. So
Well, there you go. I didn't know that heritage
yeah.
about you, so that's cool. But you were born here, but your ancestors were from Europe.
Yeah, well, mixed. I mean, Australians, we're all kind of
Yeah, that's true.
expats and mixed, aren't we? So
That's
I
true.
you can probably tell with the red hair and fair skin, I'm Irish, Scottish, English.
I love that. You must, well, we can talk about your hair and how you look after yourself because it must be,
Yeah.
it's very tiring, I'm assuming, being in your career the way it's going at the moment because it's been soaring of late. But one more very important question before we kick into some of the Jaggy entertainment and some of your
Yeah.
work is, have you seen the new Mean Girls reboot yet?
Oh, I
The
have.
musical?
Yeah, I love it.
I was going to say, what are your thoughts? Quick.
Oh my gosh. I loved it. I thought it was such a beautiful take on doing something that was created so long ago and brought into like the modern world and how society is right now. It touched on so many relevant things that are happening right at the moment, in society.
Yeah.
And I think Renee was fantastic as Regina. I don't understand why some people are, people always say things, right? And there's always
Sure.
critics there
Yeah.
that have an opinion, but I think she was fantastic.
Yeah. And of course, Australia's own and Gary Rice.
Yes. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Oh gosh, yeah. They're just amazing. Both of them were really, really great.
Yeah, I'm a bit like you. I love how they've adapted it to, because 20 years ago, teenagers were different than what they are now. And
Yeah.
so
And they went through different
it's not
struggles.
essentially a remake, right?
Yes, that's what I really appreciated about it because a lot of people I think went into it thinking it was a remake, will experience the same tropes and the same stories and the same problems, but I love that they put the musical edge on it. So it was already from the get-go completely different as a musical. It kind of stood in its own league and didn't try and remake what was.
Yeah, no, I know, I agree. I think musicals, they're sort of having a resurgence, and I'm not talking about last year, but the years before that, the last 3 or 4 years, musicals have been like on the big screen anyway, a big resurgence. So, do you think you could see yourself in a musical? Can you sing? Can you dance?
Yeah, definitely. I could see myself in a musical. I can dance. I've danced since I could walk, essentially.
Okay.
With singing, I can hold a tune, and I've been asked to sing in auditions before, but I am by no means a trained singer. So
Mm.
that was actually interesting. You brought it up. I am taking lessons and classes this year. That's something I'm focusing on is developing my own voice.
Good. No, I think you've got that ability. I mean, you're showing creative substance throughout your career so far. You can just keep on putting layers of your talent.
Yeah, that's the goal, you know, to be able to do a bit of everything. And I know they talk about, you know, Jill of all trades. I do, you know, specialize in acting, and that's what I've trained
Yeah.
in. But I think it's important in this industry, especially, to be able to further your career in different areas.
Yeah.
Because with the acting world, a lot of the time you're waiting for the validation or approval from another person, so the director or the casting director or producer.
Yeah.
And so wherever you can, I don't know, my advice for young actors would be train up in other things in the industry so that you can create the opportunities for yourself. You can make your own work, help yourself kind of strengthen the craft of acting as well.
Yeah, well said, strong words. And we'll talk about some of your producing and how you got into that as well shortly. But I think we'll see you on stage at QPAC soon, right? You never
No,
know.
no. What's on QPAC? What? Tell me. Is
Oh,
someone?
I'm just saying they have that's live performing arts.
Oh, yeah, right.
Stage.
In the
Yeah.
future, as in musicals are coming back, and you
Yes,
can see
yes.
me after I do my singing lessons. Totally.
Sooner or later, we'll see you on stage, hopefully.
For sure. Yeah. Manifest it.
Now, before we spoke today, you were doing some self-taping, I'm guessing, or an audition. What is it like now with audition processes? Are you mostly just sending in tapes, or are you going into casting calls? How does it work now, like post-COVID?
Yeah. So that's a great question. Pre-COVID, it was essentially mostly in the room,
Yeah,
and we would do self-tapes when there were kind of circumstances where we couldn't go in. It was kind of the plan B. But
sure.
post COVID now, self tapes are the audition. It's essentially what is happening across the board. And the what we call in-room auditions, where you do the traditional walk into a room and work with the casting director,
Yeah.
are becoming more and more rare.
Yeah, okay. That doesn't surprise me. A few of other actors I've spoken to have said there's been a bit of a mix, but I think they're phasing out the walking into the casting director's room these days.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they do. What I've experienced is the initial phase of auditions over self-tapes. And then if you're doing callbacks and going through different processes, they might start bringing people in to get a feel for you in the room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, Love is in the Air, was that your first film with Jaggy Entertainment, the
No,
producer, Steve Jaggy?
no. That was actually, oh gosh.
Romance in the Vineyard. Maybe it was Romance in
Yeah.
the Vineyard.
Romance of the Vineyard was my first. So I
Got
acted
it.
in that film. I also location managed that film,
Oh,
but
wow.
yeah, so my background with Jaggy is through acting and then location management.
Okay.
So yeah, and then I've gone into producing. So I've kind of been on a bit of a ride with them, which I'm super grateful for. They're fantastic and I love the family there. But yeah, Romance at the Vineyard was my first one, which was so much fun.
Was there any wine consumed in real life? Because it made me watching it, and I'm a sucker for a good rom-com chick flick. I really love them, good ones and bad ones. But it made me want some wine immediately after it. So
Well,
it
that is
worked.
so good. I'm not sure if that's kind of the aim from the perspective, but I love that you got kind of a positive experience from it. It was no real wine was consumed during the filming process. That was all fake, handled by our extraordinaires in art department. They can literally make anything look real, which is awesome. But there was wine consumed at the wrap party, I will tell you.
Good to hear. Good to hear. And Susie, she's done a couple of films now for Steve. Any work, like, can you tell me all about her? I don't know a lot about her, but she comes across on screen as being really fun, likable, adaptable.
Yeah, she is. We've become friends from that
Good.
process and onwards. So she's such a generous person, and that translates through her acting as well.
Yeah.
She's super generous with her co-stars, and she will spend the time on the scene that the scene needs, and she'll work. She's very collaborative. Like, she'll work with the director and everyone on set. And yeah, she's super bubbly and full of energy. I say that Susie is like a Labrador puppy. The way that she moves around set is everyone wants to kind of have a chat and play with her and have some fun. And she's like this energy that lifts everyone up and has everyone bubbling. And then she moves on to the next group of people. And yeah, she keeps coming back because she is such a beautiful person. And I love working with her. I hope to do more with her.
Yeah, well, that's good. I'm glad that you've stayed connected and friends, because I think she will go well in more films down under. I think she fits right in.
Yeah, she does, for sure. Yeah.
Now, I did mention Lovers in the Air,
Yes.
and probably a big movie that you were part of, or one of your bigger movies, because it was successful here, overseas, everywhere, and still going strong with a very popular Australian lead. What were your experiences up there on, tropical Queensland on that set?
Yeah. It was a huge feat, honestly.
It
It was,
seemed it.
yeah, and the team, luckily we had such a fantastic crew and cast, because we just had to pull it off. It was actually shot in a really, really short time frame. So
Okay.
the whole film was shot in 3 weeks.
That's
Which,
amazing. 3
yeah,
weeks.
people, when they find that out, are just kind of shocked, because you don't kind of, when you watch it, you don't think it's, you think you have months to kind of get all of that content.
18 days.
We had days, yeah. So yeah, I acted in that as Michelle, which was a super small role, but it was really special because the director, Adrian Powers, he just offered me the role straight up. I kind of didn't have to audition. So he'd known my work and followed my work. And then when he kind of heard that I was part of the behind the scenes making of the film, he reached out to me privately and was like, hey, I know that you're already working on this, not as an actor, but I love your work and I would just be so honored to have you in as cast.
How great.
So it was such a strange kind of scenario, being able to say, yeah, I can do both.
Yeah, well, that's really good, versatile, because say you were working behind the scenes as crew on a film, and then someone gets sick, someone pulls out, anything could happen. You could just step straight in.
Totally. It's like I get to flex my muscles as an actor. I get to work on the business side as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a lot of, when I was younger as an actor and kind of first starting out, about, God, like 13 years ago now.
Yep.
I remember feeling like, to be a true actor and a true thespian, you have to be only an actor.
Right.
And that's kind of respected in the industry, and you kind of struggle as an actor until you can make it. And then the older that I got, I learned that that is not the case, and you don't have to have that mentality. Like, you can create skills in other areas of this industry that I love working in, you know?
Yeah, well, what do you like with lines? Can you remember lines at short notice, or do you have a procedure where you're reading up all night, reading, for the scenes the next day? Yeah. How are you with those?
Honestly, it's a muscle that you just build.
Yeah.
And you just strengthen, and then I surprise myself all the time with lines. I learn them so quickly now. I don't know even how. I just do. It's like you have years and years of getting given a script and then having to know it off book the next day, 24 hours or sometimes less.
Yeah.
I can't even count the amount of auditions I've been in where they just go, actually, can you read for this character? Or actually, we're going to do a different scene. Can you read this scene? And it's like, go out of the room and have a few minutes and come back in. And you've just got to know it. And
that's huge expectations. I mean,
huge, yeah.
Yeah.
It sometimes can be stressful, but I think once you have that muscle strengthened, you go so quickly into I know what I'm doing. Like, you just switch. Yeah. So this audition actually that I'm doing today, I got last night, and it's half a page, and I read it 3 times and I know it now. So yeah.
Half a page, 3 times, and you've memorized it. That's fantastic.
I've got it. Yeah. Yeah. I think the biggest thing for me with learning lines is reading it first as an audience member. So not reading it as a character, not putting any of my own, emotions behind it or choices, just reading it from the perspective of what is this story, what's happening here? Like, where are we? Who's talking to who? What's happening? Oh, that's cool. And then once you read the story and it affects you in some way, you remember it, like it doesn't leave you. And then you can putting your character on top of it.
No, this is really fascinating because, you have to, actors aren't just actors. You've got to be ready for anything. Like you said, you can get asked to read for a different part that you're not even expecting.
Yeah. You've got to be ready for anything, which is pretty crazy.
Well, what about Christmas movies? Now, mistletoe moments. It's pretty unusual to have snow in Queensland.
Oh, yeah, isn't it?
But it's fun. I mean, I've spoken to Joanne, who directed the film.
Yeah.
And just, I don't know, there was another Jaggy movie, Mistletoe Ranch.
Yes.
That was another great one to speak to the actors from that, because they were just dealing with like the hot weather, but the fake snow. How did you go with Mistletoe Moments?
Yeah, that one, oh my gosh. It's the same every time. And I don't know how it happens, but we end up shooting them. Well, because they're for a release in Christmas, December. We shoot them through spring into summer. And here it gets really, really hot. And so our wardrobe, there's so many complications you don't think about. Like the wardrobe has to have them in coats and scarves and beanies and gloves.
Yeah.
And then the, product that we use for the fake snow sometimes struggles in the heat. And it's kind of like this perfect chaos that no one knows if it's going to work. And we all kind of just cross our fingers and put all of our prep into it and then go, is it going to even look good on camera? And somehow we make it work every time.
Yeah, it seems to work. I mean, the challenges are there, but once you make a Christmas movie, or at least one, that means someone's watching it every year, generally.
Yeah, exactly. And they'll just go on loop. And I'm super proud of the Christmas movies that I've been involved in. I've done like Designing Christmas with You, which Susie was in again.
Yeah, okay.
And The Mistletoe Moments, or A Christmas Keepsake. They have 2 different titles depending on what region you're in.
Yeah, okay.
So both of those were really beautiful, and the actors are always so generous with their time because we need so much time to prep it all, and they're always just like, yep, I get it, and we put them in air conditioning right up until the last moment and we take them out.
I'm glad you say we, because that's talking like a producer. Is that something that naturally happened? You went from performing and acting to producing. Was it an interest? Are you wanting to direct down the track? I know that's a loaded question, but what was the progression of being a producer from where you started?
Yeah. So I was always interested in the more performer side first. So it was like the dancing and acting came first. And I remember my dad always saying to me, you've got the business brain, like you're switched on, you can't not use it, like there'll be a time in your life where you want to flex that muscle and work in the business side. And I kind of resisted it for a long time. And then when I left high school, I decided to go and study at university, and I did 2 different degrees. I did a Bachelor of Business majoring in management and a Bachelor of Creative Industries majoring in entertainment.
Fabulous.
So I feel like I've been in this constant juxtaposition of the creative world and the business world. And when I found producing, I just went, this merges the 2 worlds so perfectly. And my brain feels comfortable here. This feels natural and normal for me because I can work as a creative producer. You know, I can talk about all the business side of the film and the sales and the distribution and
Exactly.
working with the networks and, you know, what the market's wanting and that kind of thing. But I can also make choices on, you know, the storyline and the costume and the hair and makeup and how it's going to look and where it's going to be shot and all those creative elements that make it fun and exciting.
Yeah, that's good to know. I mean, I like producers who are like you. They want to cover everything, and I think it's important for editing, music in a film, where and when to put it, and the posters
Yeah.
themselves. The posters of the films are very important to choose to get it
Yes.
right.
So it's so important. We dedicate a day to shooting that.
Yeah.
Get the photos. So we get not only the poster photo, but we get a lot of different stills for market and distribution.
Yeah, publicity. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's such a fun time. We like play music and we have actors out there dancing. We get everyone in the mood. So it's like really flowing and creative. So I love that part.
Were you always destined to be in this industry? Like when you were a little kid, were you dancing around in the lounge room or watching movies with the family? How did the love of it all start?
Yeah, that's a good question. That makes me that makes me laugh thinking back to when I was a kid because gosh, my parents, they could not get me out of dresses for a start. I was always in like a tutu or a dress or a
Right.
or a something, you know, and wearing my mom's high heels and putting on her red lipstick. I
Nice.
remember my mum has this story where her friend Kirsten used to come over, and in my eyes, Kirsten was like a superstar. She used to wear the most amazing things, and she'd have all her makeup done and these beautiful jewels all over her and jewelry and everything, right?
Yeah.
And I just think back and she was just like a confident, beautiful woman. But, you know, in my eyes, I was like superstar.
Yeah.
And she used to take her shoes off when she'd come over to visit and put her bag down. And both of them would go missing within like 5 minutes of her
You
being.
swiped them.
Yeah. And I'd go into my room and I'd be like putting on her lipstick and putting her shoes on. And I just always wanted to be, I don't know, like performing. I'd always be doing scenes for my family and making them watch movies and then pausing the movie and getting up and reenacting the scene for them. And
Oh, wow.
yeah,
Okay.
I don't know, maybe it was just I was born with it or something. I'm not sure where it comes from.
Well, that explains why you can remember lines after reading it 3 times. Right. That
Actually,
explains it. If you're reciting movies as a kid, that explains it.
you're right. I never thought about that, but yes, my sister and I are always reciting
Yeah.
films. Like we sit down and watch movies, we can just speak them as they're happening the whole
Yeah.
time. I know what it is, but yeah, that makes sense.
It sounds like me. I was watching movies as a kid, watching actors, watching the background,
Really
just listening to when the music came up and down. Like, and now I do it for a living. It's amazing.
That's awesome. So it was born into you as well. You know, that feeling of just, you don't know where it comes from, but you've always been interested in it.
Yeah, I don't know why. I just watched a lot of films, probably inappropriate ones, like, I'm not saying sexually inappropriate, but just adult movies when
Yeah.
I shouldn't have been on TV. I never watched kids shows or cartoons. I
Right.
wasn't exposed to that. I was exposed to like cop movies and action films and that kind of thing. So
You
I
got to
just went
see the
went from there.
real filmmaking from a young age.
Yeah, I just admired it and still do now, and that's why I'm so comprehensive when I talk to people or watch films and review them. I'm not just like
So you know
uh,
what you're talking about, Chris.
yeah, I take it quite seriously.
I really appreciate that. That's fantastic. It's good to have a conversation with someone who is as passionate about the industry as I am. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad it shows.
Yeah.
Now, we were originally going to speak before Valentine's Day this year,
Yes.
but it's after Valentine's Day. Not that it matters, because I don't think you need an excuse to watch a good, romantic movie, and you've been part of a few.
Yeah.
Have you got a couple you can tell our watchers and listeners any favorites that
Yes.
you might recommend?
I was thinking about this because I thought you may ask.
Good.
I would say I would say my number one that I go back to all of the time is My Best Friend's Wedding.
Aha, yes.
Have you seen that film with Julia
Oh, I've seen everything, Mia. So it'd
I
be
feel
very
bad asking. I'm like, you probably have.
it'll be very rare for someone to say, "Oh, have you seen this?" And I'll go, "No." Uh, but
Well, I'm glad
My
because it
Best
is.
Friend's Wedding, I mean, it was directed by an Australian,
Yes, which I love.
PJ Hogan. Dermot Mulroney was in his prime then. He's
Fine.
always really good. And Julia Roberts, I would, I just in everything that she's in. So
I
great
adore
pick.
her.
I mean,
Yeah,
I've
that's
definitely seen it.
yeah. I've seen it countless times.
Cameron, yeah, I mean, even Cameron Diaz. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, she's in my second favorite, which is The Holiday.
That comes up a lot,
Yeah.
and I need to rewatch it because I haven't seen it since it was released, which
Oh my gosh.
I know. I've not rewatched it.
Uh, Kate Winslet. I mean, I see the Titanic behind you, and
Yeah.
I know you're probably a big fan of
Yes,
her.
I
I
am.
I adore her. I just absolutely adore her acting style. I've strangely been compared to her in with my acting.
Have you? Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it is. I just always get compared to her or Jennifer Lawrence, which I feel are very different actors, but
Mm.
depends maybe what genre I'm acting in. But yeah, The Holiday, Kate Winslet is incredible, Cameron Diaz as always, and both of the boys, like Jack Black. Jack Black always makes me laugh, but I'm not like a huge kind of watcher of his work.
Yeah.
But I
Okay.
think he's great in the film. And Jude Law. Oh, who wouldn't love him?
It took me a long time to warm to Jude Law. I think
Interesting.
it took me early in his career. I didn't quite like him very much at all, but he came good. The movie Closer he did with Natalie Portman.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the one that changed me with Jude, and now I really do like him.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I don't know why. It was pre AI, I think it was, which was
Um,
about 2000 that he did the Steven Spielberg movie.
I
So
wonder what his age was, like if he kind of matured with age. I sometimes find with actors as they get wiser and they have more life experience, they're able to imbue that more into a character.
yeah, I think he did Gattaca with Ethan Hawke and Uma Thurman, so that was late 90s, and then AI after that. So yeah, I started to warm to him then, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know his age, but I agree with you on The Holiday from memory. I really liked it. I need to rewatch it. It's one that I haven't got back to.
Please put that on your list and then tell me how you feel after you watch it.
When people ask me, I could just name 10, 20 off the top of my head.
What's your number one, like your top romance film? Just romance.
When Harry Met Sally,
Oh my gosh,
probably.
that's my sisters. Yeah.
Probably When Harry Met Sally, which is having its 35th anniversary this year.
Oh wow.
1989, that was released in Meg Ryan. I don't have to go through it. It's just an
Oh,
amazing
it's
film.
a classic. It
Yeah.
it, it never
It,
fails. Yeah.
and it interjects real life couples, like in a documentary style,
Yeah.
them talking to the camera as we see the evolution of Harry and Sally as friends, opposites attract, and then so forth. It's a perfect movie
It's
in my
beautiful
eyes.
storyline. The acting is beautiful. Yeah. And it's very grounded and real, which I love.
More recently, I would say Ruby Sparks. Ruby Sparks was a movie about a writer whose character comes to life. He's perfect girl, but there's complications, of course.
I'm feel
And
terrible.
that's with Zoe Kazan and Paul Dano.
Oh, sorry. We just had a bit of a lag. I heard the rest of what you said. Um, I feel terrible saying this, but that is one I haven't seen. I'm literally
Don't feel terrible. It goes under the radar. A lot of people don't know it.
okay. Ruby Sparks. I've added it to my list. I
There's
also have
others, of course.
down, but Bridesmaids a bit more comedy.
Yeah.
But it always makes me laugh. I think it's beautiful.
Yeah, Bridesmaids has a lot going for it other than what people remember it by. People remember Melissa McCarthy in the middle of the street and doing what she does. And,
Yeah, doing what she does. Yeah.
yeah, and everything else around those vulgar-ish sort of jokes and moments, but there's a lot of heart to that movie. So,
Oh, and
yeah.
and for me, sisterhood, like it's a romance about
Yep.
two best friends,
Yep.
just as much as meeting the man, it's that she kind of realizes she doesn't need a man and she just wants a best friend. And isn't that just so relatable? You know what I mean?
That's it. Well, we just had a little mini podcast of romantic movies. So I thought that was a
I
pretty
love
good
that.
list.
If this was a podcast, it would sell, let me tell you.
Now, I have to bring this up before we wrap it up. You had a I mean, I guess it was an episode of Neighbours, which is an iconic television show in Australia. It was only one episode, is that correct?
Yes, I was just a day player. I was just on for one, but I would tell you something so insane.
Yeah.
So the episode that I was on was was years ago, 2014.
And you went from Queensland down to Melbourne to film it?
Yes, yeah. So I actually lived in both Sydney and Melbourne. So
Okay.
I was over there as well to do acting work and train and everything. I've kind of trained across Australia and US, UK, around the world. But anyway, that's besides the point. So when I was living there, I booked that job. I went on for a day in 2014. And it was the day that Delta Goodrum's character, I think her name's Nina, comes back to Neighbours. And so she was there and I worked with her, and then cut to last year and working with her as an actor on Lovers in the Air. It was just so strange.
Did you remind her of that on set of Lovers in the Air?
You know what? I didn't. I don't know why I didn't, but I should. I actually should. Yeah, we message frequently. So I'll just shoot her a message and go, I never put two and two together, but we've actually worked with each other.
Well, all you got to do is send her the link when I'm posting our interview. Send her the link of the interview, and she'll find out herself. Just say, stick around to the end of the interview.
Yeah, I actually will do that. That's a good point.
Now, I've got to ask you a couple of random questions. I like doing this to people I interview. So just the first thing that comes to mind, and they're not too hard. The questions aren't too hard.
Okay.
Can you surf?
No, wish I could.
Okay. Can you cook?
Yes.
Do you have a specialty dish?
I mean, I don't have a special dish, but I love to eat pasta.
Okay.
It's my favorite food. So I cook a lot of pastas and seafood. So I'll do seafood with pasta a lot.
You've got my attention.
You've got your heart, yeah.
You've got my attention. What's something that nobody knows about you, or a habit that you have that you might want to share?
That's a good question. Oh, okay. The first thing you asked me for, the first thing that came to my mind. Yeah. So that's dangerous. But something that not many people know about me is that when I was young, I used to competitively horse ride and show jump.
Okay.
And I actually fell off a horse and split one of my kidneys open in my body.
Oh.
I know. And I nearly lost it, but I didn't. And it healed itself naturally, just completely stitched itself back up. And I have 2 working kidneys, but it was kind of miraculous. Like the nurses and doctors were like, it is just healing itself, because they were going to go do surgery and they realized that it started to just naturally heal. And so they said, let's just leave it. And it's completely fine now.
I'm really glad to hear that. Otherwise, it could have been worse. But did it put you off horses for life, or do you go?
No, I still love horses and love riding. I don't do it competitively anymore. Those days are over. I have a lot of trophies and medals and ribbons to show for that. But my dream would be to book a job where I can horse ride throughout it, because melding those 2 loves would be a dream.
Hey, you're a producer.
Just make the role for myself.
Just make the role for yourself. Whisper in Steve's ear. He'll have something up his sleeve, I'm sure, with a horse.
I like that. That's a good idea.
Well, you may have already answered this question, but if you weren't an actor or a performer, what would you be doing? What would your career be, do you think?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think I'd have my own business, but I'm not sure doing... Yeah, I would work for myself and have my own business, and it would probably be surrounding helping women, like women's circles or psychology.
Okay.
My mother and grandmother are psychologists, and so I've really grown up with that, and I feel like I'm always drawn to creating
Yeah.
women's circles and safe spaces for women and helping women through things within the industry. And so I think that is where I would gravitate to if I wasn't here. Yeah.
Well, that makes sense to me. You're using your business savvy to your heart, for good use, and you have a big heart, obviously. So you combine those two. That sounds like very you, Mia.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, maybe one day I will combine it all and do something within the industry and helping women and psychology.
Well, there's been so much change of late, as you would know. I don't know if you've ever experienced any hurdles being a female, but thankfully all the changes are in progress. I mean, it still hasn't 100%, but things are looking up in that area of discrimination and so forth, at least.
Definitely. And yes, I have experienced, I think it'll be hard to find a woman that hasn't, to be honest. And I think huge credit to those women out there that are making the difference, that have a name for themselves already, a big A-list that are speaking up about things like this. I admire it a lot.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, thank you. And finally, this might give me an idea of your music taste. You know how boxers go out to the ring to a big song to energize people when they go into the ring? What song do you think you'd choose going out to a ring, like in front of people?
Really good question. I've never had that question. That's really, really good. It would have to be something with, I don't know a specific song, but either something like an Eminem song, rapper, or a really good beat, something kind of heavy and motivating.
Okay.
Not like poppy. It wouldn't be something like Beyonce for me. I'm not, or like give me those good beats. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. You could Eminem, you've got Beastie Boys, that kind of
stuff. Like something that's got a really good message and that I can listen to, and the lyrics are inspiring. That's what I love. Yeah.
Well, there you go. There's your heart showing again. A message is important to you.
I'm all about, I guess for me, connection and a message are the two biggest things I try and lean into with my life and with acting.
Well, that's a good way to finish up. Although I will ask, what's next? Is there anything that you can share on the record and something that people can look forward to you either producing or acting in?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm currently associate producing. It's an Australian action thriller. I can't share which one as of yet, but we're in production at the moment, so I'm on set every day during the weeks, and definitely more producing coming down the line this year. I'm also in development for a film for myself to act in, which is really exciting. That'll be hopefully shooting this year. So lots to come, but can't share too much.
No, fair enough. Well, that one you're developing for you to act in, you might be able to write a scene in with a horse or two.
Oh, don't you worry. There's lots of beautiful things coming. I'm hoping that when it does, when we finish shooting, I can chat to you about it and hopefully share some photos with you and some stories.
Yeah, I'd love that. That'd be great. If I was a bit closer, I'd even visit the set, but I can't do that right now, sadly. But thank you.
Depending on when it's happening this year, I'll